Fago Franklin III with New Stitch Media. I'm here with sports analyst Rob Parker. How you doing, first and foremost?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on the show, man. I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. But before we start talking about sports, I want your perspective about the Black Lives Matter movement and what else can we do to actually let our voices be heard.
It's been amazing to me what we've seen over the last few months and the movement and changes, that are coming about, even like in sports, where the players they have a strong voice, they have power, they're using it. We saw in the NBA with the boycott of the one playoff game, and then the other sports jumped in, the Major League Baseball and the WNBA and NHL postponed playoff games and MLS. I think what people are doing is really letting people know that we're not going to accept the status quo and just keep doing what's been going on. So to me, it's been amazing to see all the young people take to the streets and fight for a different world. They don't want to live the world that I grew up in or maybe my parents grew up in. They want something different. So it's awesome to see.
So what kind of inspired you to get into your career path?
I was a kid growing up in New York. I grew up in Jamaica, Queens, in the city, and I was a baseball player. I loved baseball, and I wanted to be first baseman for the Mets growing up. That was my goal. And then I thought to myself, well, what if I'm not good enough to make it to the major leagues? What else could I do? And I had a teacher in second grade. Her name was Miss Noble. And one day in class, she pulled me aside and she said, I think you're an excellent writer. And when you grow up, you should be a writer. That stuck with me. I mean, I was 7 years old, and this young teacher planted that seed in my head. And I don't know what she saw in a second grader writing to say that I should be a writer. But so it was my love of sports and then my ability as a writer. And I thought to myself, man, if I can't make it, I would love to have my own sports column and my picture in the paper. I used to read papers a day when I was a kid. 10 years old, imagine reading 3 newspapers every day. So that's really where it happened. And I just followed that path and decided that was my dream. And no one in my family has ever been in the news, had written for a newspaper, been on radio or television. So I was the first one.
Nice. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Always. So what advice can you give people that are actually trying to enter into sports media?
I think the biggest thing is you got to be willing to outwork people. It's a lot. It's very, very challenging, and a lot of people want to get involved. Want this job for life. So you got to be prepared to fight and work hard, outwork your competition. It's possible. I'm telling you, it's possible, but you got to really be driven in this business, and you can't be lukewarm. If you're like, oh, wow, I don't want to work on the weekends or I don't want to work at night, then you'll never make it in this business, because that's when the games are and when we're mostly involved. So we're always working, and if you have a passion for it, I say go for it. Why not? That's what I had. I had a passion. I had no previous experience, nobody to get me in the game. I had to fight my way in and stay. And coming in January, it'll be 35 years that I've been in the business.
Nice. What are your thoughts about Donovan Mitchell as well as Jamal Murray? I mean, we had an explosive Game 7. That series was like that old school, traditional Indiana Pacers type of Knicks type of feel. What was your perspective about those two great athletes?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great finish. I picked Utah to win. Donovan, unfortunately, turned the ball over at the end. Jamal Murray didn't play that well. In Game 7, he had been unbelievable, 3 straight 40 or more point games. But it was an old school 90s game. You're 100% right. Look at where the score was. Games in the bubble have been 120 something. This was in the 90s. So yeah, this was an old school series. I loved it. I enjoyed every minute of it.
So what teams do you think is going into the finals now, since we're kind of getting to that stage where we're picking teams left and right?
Well, before the playoffs started, I did pick the Clippers and the Bucks, and I'm sticking with my pick. I love the Clippers. They're deep. They got a Hall of Fame championship-winning coach in Doc Rivers. Kawhi Leonard, if you go look at how he performed against Dallas, he was amazing. And if they could get Paul George just to be himself, he doesn't have to be great, just himself, the Clippers will be in a great spot. And I still like Milwaukee. I know they lost game one of their series. People are down on Giannis and down on the Bucks, but I like them a lot. I think they're great.
So I know we have the NFL coming in the next week. What are the teams that you're looking looking forward to seeing?
I mean, it's the usual suspects. I think everybody's going crazy about Tampa Bay and Tom Brady being there. I'm not one of them. The Bucks haven't made the playoffs in 12 years. Tom Brady's 43 years old. I'm not convinced that they're going to make this playoff run and go to the Super Bowl like a lot of people think. So I'm picking the Bucks not NOT to make the playoffs. That'll be 13 years in a row if they don't make it with Tom Brady. I think we've seen older quarterbacks go and try their last act, and they're not always that successful. I think people think they are, but they're not. Even when Peyton Manning wound up going to Denver, he had a couple of good years, but even the Super Bowl he won, he was terrible in that. And the last time we saw Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, he was terrible. Had less than 200 yards. He had a fumble, an interception, no touchdowns. So I'm not convinced that Tom Brady's still that guy. Obviously the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, that's another team everybody's excited about. We'll see what happens with the Cleveland Browns this year. It was a dud last year. The New England Patriots with Cam Newton, that's another good storyline. Does Cam reignite his career with Bill Belichick? So that's something else. There's so many different things. I can't wait.
Oh, you missed the other big storyline, the Arizona Cardinals with D. How about that?
With the Arizona Cardinals with what?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's another team that people are excited about. We shall see. They're not on the top of my list of excitement, but I get it. I mean, he's such a talented receiver, and people feel like, they're moving in the right direction.
Do you think Cam Newton's actually going to have a better season than Tom Brady just fitting in that system?
I don't know. I mean, I have to see if Cam is healthy and what they lost a lot of players. I don't know what weapons exactly. But Cam still if he's healthy, he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So I'm looking forward to seeing him finally be healthy. I think people got a bad idea of Cam because the last 2 years he's been injured, and they think that's the real Cam. He's still a young guy, 31 years old. So we have to wait and see. But I'm looking forward. I think he'll have a good year with New England.
What advice can you give people about taking the leap of faith and trying to make their dreams happen?
I say the biggest thing for me is believe in yourself. A lot of people, the reason most people don't succeed in life is because they're afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. Take a chance. There was a movie called Hollywood Shuffle, and I remember in that movie, the grandmother, they wanted to be film producers or whatever, and the grandmother was always like the, old-time family member who was always like, not believing in the new world or believing you could do stuff like that, and always would say during the movie, there's work at the post office.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not knocking anybody who works at the post office, but that shouldn't be your first stop. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You should dream and work hard and believe in yourself. There's so many great stories of people who believed in themselves and didn't give up their dream, and they made it. So I'm one of those people, and I think that that's how you succeed. Is you step out there, believe in yourself, and work hard at it.
What are some of the pros and cons with being in this business?
Very competitive, I mean, you might have to move around the country. Contracts don't get renewed, different bosses. I mean, it's people who are able to hang around a long time. It's amazing because the business is ever changing, and you have to be able to adapt as the business changes. I've done that. I was a newspaper reporter. I wasn't thinking about being on radio or television. I wanted to just be a newspaper reporter, and I was able to do that. and then also move it along so that I could do radio and TV. And the more you can do and the more marketable you are, the better off you're going to be and the better longevity you're going to have.
And I have a lot of people that's on my end that are reporters, that are writers, that are looking to kind of get with ESPN and Fox and some of the bigger publications. What advice can you give them for just being the highlight and the spotlight to try to get that angle, that job that they're looking for within these big publications and news stations?
It's just to me it's more about you got to work your way up. You're not going to start. People think they're going to start at ESPN or start at Fox or start at, Turner or whatever. Oh, I want to be an NBA analyst and work for NBA TV. You got to work your way up. I started in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. You got to work at small market TV markets. You got to, build a resume, stuff like that. It's just not. It's not that easy as people think. They see people and they think that they haven't put in their time, or that it happened overnight. For nobody on it happened overnight. People worked hard, put in their time. You have to build up some credibility. Why should I listen to you? Why should I watch your show? Why should your opinion matter if you've never covered anything? I started covering the NBA in 1987. It wasn't last week or a month ago. So when people hear me talk about the NBA, they know I've been around. They know that I've had some experience with doing it.
Do you think the Kansas City Chiefs are now a dynasty team? A lot of people are talking around the league about it could be the dynasty.
Oh, it's premature. It just doesn't happen. Guys don't win back-to-back. It's hard to win back-to-back, hard to be a dynasty. There aren't that many dynasties in the NFL. So I just need to wait to see. Let's see what happens this year, and then we could really find out. They win another one, then they have a shot at being a dynasty. To me, a dynasty, you have to win 3 in a row or 3 out of 4. That to me would be a dynasty where you ran that league for years. Not like people want to say the Spurs are a dynasty. No, they won 5 championships over 20 years. That's not a dynasty. The Spurs never won back-to-back championships. How could they be a dynasty?
Amen. And my last question is, what are your Super Bowl picks? I understand that we got the little COVID going on, but if there's a full season, who are your Super Bowl picks?
I don't have them yet, to be honest. I haven't gotten there yet. I'll start taking a better look at the teams, no preseason games. So I'm going to make those picks, but I'm going to tell you, I'm not picking the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to pick Baltimore. I don't know who they're going to play yet, but I'm going to pick Baltimore to come out of the AFC. And I'm going to pick Baltimore to win the Super Bowl.
Why do you think Baltimore? I know they just lost Earl Thomas, and he was a big factor last year.
Yeah, I think they still have a great defense with some other players in there. And they have a unanimous MVP, Lamar Jackson, who had an unbelievable year. I think he'll be able to perform again. And I think Kansas City will have a hard time because it's hard to repeat. So I'm looking for somebody different. It's more about the odds of trying to repeat and Baltimore getting over the hump. I think they'll get over the hump this year.
All right. Thank you for allowing me to interview you and be on my show. I definitely look forward to seeing you doing in Tampa this year if there's a Super Bowl.
Yep, I can't wait. And thanks so much for the invite. And if people want to, catch up and find out what I'm doing, excuse me, or reach me, go to my website. GetRobbed, GETROBBED, GetRobbed.com, and you'll see everything, from my column at Deadspin, FS1 appearances, The Odd Couple with Chris Broussard, our radio show, and much, much more. And I also have a couple of books that you can purchase on GetRobbed.com.
Amen. I look forward to seeing you soon, my friend. Definitely have a blessed one.
All right, you too. Peace.
Yes, sir. All right, now. Bye-bye.